All right, everybody, welcome back for another deep dive with us. Today, we're going to be looking at something kind of interesting,
Yeah,
and maybe something we don't always like to talk about,
right.
which is jealousy. And we found this article that was really interesting called "Jealousy Could Actually Be Your New Superpower."
Hmm.
So we thought we'd take a deep dive into that and see what that's all about.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of a thought-provoking title, right? I mean, we think of jealousy as this like, you know,
Negative thing.
yeah.
But yeah, so this article really kind of turns that on its head and makes us thinking, well, is there something we can learn from jealousy? Yeah. Is there a way we can maybe harness this energy that we usually think of as so negative
Mm-hmm.
and actually use it for good in our lives?
Yeah, I think the article suggests that that's exactly what we can do. So instead of thinking about it as something to be ashamed of, or something to like suppress,
Right.
we can actually kind of reframe it as just like this raw energy,
Oh, okay.
and any kind of powerful energy, right? Like if you think about like, electricity.
Sure.
It can be very dangerous if it's not handled properly,
Hmm.
but if you know how to work with it, it can also be incredibly powerful.
Okay, so how do we do that?
Well, I think the first step that the article suggests is really understanding what's at the root of your jealousy.
Okay.
So when you're feeling jealous of someone, what is it about that person or their situation that's really triggering that feeling for you?
So it's like figuring out what that jealousy is trying to tell us about ourselves.
Exactly.
Like
Yeah.
what we really want deep down.
Yeah, because a lot of times it comes down to, there's something that we desire, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we see someone else who has that thing and we feel that pang of jealousy.
Right.
And so instead of, kind of getting lost in that negative feeling, we can actually use it as information.
Okay.
Like, oh, I'm feeling jealous of this person because they get to travel the world. Well, what is it about world travel that I really crave? Is it the freedom?
Mm-hmm.
Is it the adventure? Is it the new experiences?
Right.
And once you identify what that is, then you can start to think about, well, how can I create that in my own life?
I see. So instead of just feeling bad about it, we're actually taking that feeling and saying, okay, what can I learn from this?
Exactly.
What is this telling me about myself?
Yep.
And then using that to actually take action.
Right. And there's actually, there's research that shows that people who kind of actively explore, the reasons behind their envy are more likely to then set goals and take steps to achieve what they desire.
Oh, wow. So it actually is a motivating factor.
It can be. Yeah. Yeah.
That's interesting.
It's like turning that I want that into I'm going to work towards getting that.
I like that. Yeah. Because I've always heard, don't compare yourself to others.
Right.
But this is almost like a productive way to compare.
Right. Yeah.
It's not about putting yourself down.
Right.
It's about looking at someone else and saying, okay, what have they done? And what can I learn from that I can apply to my own life?
Yeah, exactly. It's not about, copying someone else's life, but it's about using their achievements as a source of inspiration and motivation, to define your own path.
Yeah. And that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. And I mean, I think about like athletes, right? Like you see a lot of athletes who will talk about how they'll watch their competitors and
Right.
they'll feel that pang of jealousy when they see them, win or whatever.
Sure.
But then they use that to fuel their own training.
Right.
They're like, okay, I'm gonna push myself harder.
To beat them next time.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I think, this is something that we can all relate to
Yeah.
because, who hasn't felt jealous at some point in their lives, right?
Absolutely.
But it's like, what if we could reframe that?
Mhm.
What if we could actually use that to level up in our own lives?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the key takeaway here is that, jealousy is this powerful emotion.
Mhm.
And it can be, it can be destructive if we let it,
Right.
but it can also be incredibly motivating if we learn to use it to our advantage.
So it's not about ignoring it or pretending it's not there.
Right.
It's about acknowledging it
Yeah.
and then saying, okay, how can I work with this?
Mm-hmm.
How can I use this energy to actually create something positive in my life?
Exactly.
Yeah, I love that.
And, the next time you feel that twinge of jealousy, don't shy away from it. Don't feel ashamed of it.
Right.
Just ask yourself, what is this feeling trying to tell me?
What can I learn from this?
Yeah, and how can I use it as fuel to move forward?
This has been so interesting. I think this is such a great way to look at this feeling that we usually try to avoid.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you, everyone, for joining us for another deep dive. And hopefully you can all use this information to make some positive changes in your own lives.
Absolutely.
Thanks for listening.